This is CBN NewsWatch.
And it is Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Thank you so much for joining us. Ahead today, the Southern Baptist Convention begins its annual meeting facing explosive issues that threaten to divide it during a time when it's already losing members. But as we will explain, there are also reasons for hope. The U.S. approaching a grim milestone, 600,000 COVID deaths. Still, now that the number of cases has dropped sharply, is it time to declare the pandemic over? Or could one of the variations of the disease cause even more problems? We're going to talk to our medical reporter, Lori Johnson. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill requiring a daily minute or more of silence in public schools. That could include prayer. The governor saying he doesn't believe the founding fathers thought you could push God out of every institution and be successful. And miracles, signs, and wonders taking place on an app. We're going to tell you about the Christian conversations taking place online on a relatively new app and how they've led to salvations. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with the Southern Baptist. After taking a year off for the pandemic, the country's largest Protestant denomination is holding its annual meeting in Nashville this week. The agenda is highly charged with explosive issues that threaten to divide it at a time when membership is already declining. But there's also ample reasons for hope. Senior National Affairs correspondent Heather Sells brings us this story.
Historic numbers of Southern Baptists are arriving in Nashville this week. They're seeking to address major conflict and select a new president.
It's going to be a watershed convention.
Longtime SBC member Dr. Ed Stetzer says the meeting must confront sex abuse and specifically accusations that top leaders have mishandled claims of those victimized by it. Calls for a third-party investigation will likely be brought up for a vote.
It's not a distraction. You know, I'm at the Wheaton College Billy Graham Center. We care deeply about evangelism, but this is a real issue we have to be addressed in the church.
Another issue driving a wedge between many Southern Baptists is critical race theory, which views racism as systemic. A group known as the Conservative Baptist Network warns those discussing the theory could be choosing woke politics over Scripture.
It's time we wake up and realize that we are not where we need to be, nor are we headed in the right direction.
Stetzer and others maintain the convention can pursue racial reconciliation without adopting the unbiblical aspects of the theory.
For a denomination where far too many people were on the wrong side of the hoses in Birmingham, Alabama, Southern Baptists have an important responsibility to get this right, get this biblical, and to do so in a way that honors men and women from different backgrounds, cultures, and races.
Those differing viewpoints raise the stakes for choosing the next Southern Baptist president who will replace Pastor J.D. Greer. Four men with different views on race are vying for the post.
This next president, I think, will set the tone in terms of how we interact in the culture, how we relate to the world.
In the last year, prominent Southern Baptists Beth Moore and Russell Moore, no relation, left the denomination, citing racism and mistreatment of women and abuse survivors. And they're not alone. Southern Baptist membership has declined for over 10 years. Still, evangelical leaders note there's plenty of good work happening in Southern Baptist churches.
Most Southern Baptists are faithful church members in their churches. They're going about their lives trying to live on mission to reach their neighbors.
I think there is hope. You know, the North American Mission Board is planting hundreds upon hundreds of churches, surprisingly high numbers even in 2020. The majority of church plants in the Southern Baptist Convention are actually not predominantly Anglo.
More than 16,000 Baptists have pre-registered for this week. That's the highest number in decades. They're no doubt hoping that these issues will be resolved in some way and that Southern Baptists can move forward to focus on their number one priority, advancing the gospel. Heather Sells, CBN News.
President Biden is wrapping up with his meetings with NATO leaders in Brussels. Their talks focusing on threats posed by China and Russia. It all comes just one day before President Biden's high-stake meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The allied nations releasing a joint statement naming China a new security threat, calling out its assertive behavior.
NATO leaders called on China to uphold its international commitments and to act responsibly in the international system.
NATO's warnings on China includes its growing nuclear arsenal and military cooperation with Russia. In a high-stakes meeting Wednesday, President Joe Biden will sit down with Russia's President Vladimir Putin, where he is expected to confront Putin on several issues, including meddling in U.S. elections and cyber attacks from Russia-based gangs. NATO's warnings on Russia points to Moscow's military buildup, along with cyber aggression and encroachment on Ukraine. Michael O'Hanlon with the Brookings Institute says unless President Biden's administration has a clear plan on checking Russian interest in Europe, little will come out of the summit.
I don't know what Biden's view is on the future of NATO expansion. And until he's figured that out and integrated that with some of these economic issues like the gas pipeline, I worry that at best the summit will get us nowhere, and at worst it could even push in a negative direction.
CBN News will keep you updated on President Biden's meeting with President Vladimir Putin. Here at home, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a bill that would require at least 1 minute of silence and possibly more in public schools at the beginning of every day so children can meditate or pray. DeSantis said, quote, "The idea you can just push God out of every institution and you can be successful. I'm sorry, our founding fathers did not believe that." And he said every family in our state should be able to send their children to school and know that they will be protected from harm and be able to practice their faith. The governor added he was signing the measure to help protect religious freedom in the state. The new law says teachers can't make suggestions to students about what they will reflect on during that moment of silence. The law will go into effect on July 1st. The governor made the announcement at a Jewish community center where he also promised to protect the Jewish community. Coming up, as the U.S. approaches 600,000 deaths from COVID-19, and now a new vaccine has arrived. But the number of new cases dropping, not everyone wants to get vaccinated still, and some are asking, is the pandemic finally over? We're going to talk to our medical reporter, Lori Johnson, when we come back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
The U.S. is approaching 600,000 deaths from COVID. That is according to Johns Hopkins University. That is more than the population of Baltimore or Milwaukee and about the number of Americans who died from cancer in 2019. Now, as bad as it is, the true number could be much higher. But the death rate and number of new cases has dropped sharply. And a new vaccine has arrived. Vaccine maker Novavax says its new COVID shot is more than 90% effective. It will seek FDA approval, and if it gets the green light, will be the fourth vaccine approved here in the United States. It will likely be shipped off to other countries, though, because more than half of Americans have already gotten vaccinated, and our supply is plentiful.
Vaccines look so incredibly good and so durable that I don't think most Americans are going to need a booster this year. We've got to pay attention to the data. If the data suggests that there are starting to be more breakthrough infections, then maybe.
Meanwhile, not everyone wants to be vaccinated. Some employees at a Houston Methodist hospital sued because the hospital required all employees be vaccinated. A judge dismissed that suit, siding with the hospital administrators. CBN News' medical reporter Lori Johnson joins us now to weigh in on all of this. So what were the reasons given for upholding this vaccine mandate?
Well, the judge basically said the hospital administrators had every right to do so. The employees, the reason they said that they didn't feel that they should be required to get vaccinated is because they said the vaccine is experimental and dangerous. And the judge says, no way, you're not part of a human trial. Hundreds of thousands of people were part of the clinical trials, and millions of people have already gotten the vaccine and have done well. So that argument just doesn't fly. So the hospital required in April that the employees get vaccinated. Monday was the deadline. A bunch of them walked out. And then when the judge's ruling came in, they had to decide whether they were going to get vaccinated. And guess what? Yesterday, 178 of those employees were suspended for not being vaccinated. So this really could be a harbinger of things to come, because we've seen health centers in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and elsewhere requiring their employees to get vaccinated. The EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, said it is within the rights of an employer to mandate vaccines for the employees. We haven't really seen a lot of that so far yet, because a lot of these vaccines are still they haven't gotten their final approval yet, but we may see this in the future.
One to watch for sure. Now, today, California lifts its COVID restrictions, Virginia as well. Is it finally time to declare the pandemic over, or is this new Delta variant going to cause a resurgence?
Right. So there are people in California are rejoicing in the fact that California is opening up in full, 100% occupancy in restaurants. Everyone is so happy, and they had some of the tightest restrictions too. So this is certainly a sign that the pandemic may be in the rearview mirror. But you're right, that Delta variant is causing a lot of concern. The Delta variant is the one that was so widespread in India, and we know that 10% of COVID cases right now in the United States are that Delta variant. It's much more contagious and more problematic. It is much more serious. Hospitalizations are usually double what they are with the Delta variant than the other variants that we have seen. The good news, Ephraim, is that the vaccines cover the Delta variant. So health officials are worried that in the fall, we're going to see a surge of unvaccinated people with the Delta variant. If you got that vaccine, you're probably going to be fine.
That is good news. When will the Novavax vaccine likely get approval?
Yeah, so the Novavax vaccine is number 4 here in the United States, and it passed its clinical trials with flying colors. They're going to ask for FDA emergency use authorization approval in the fall, in September. But again, it's likely going to be given to or sold to other countries, because we really just don't need it here. But it's a great vaccine. It's different. It's a different type of vaccine than the Pfizer, Moderna, and the J&J, but it works great. And they say that they're going to be able to manufacture 100 million doses a month. So that's going to be great for so many other countries, because much of the rest of the world hasn't vaccinated even one person.
Yeah. Wow. Tell us what we can expect this week on Healthy Living.
Well, this week on Healthy Living, it's really interesting. It's something that we don't often think of, and that's the emotional side of cancer. So we know that oncologists and the doctors are interested in, curing you of the cancer, and so many people are. The survival rates for cancer are higher now than ever before, but people really go through a lot emotionally, and after the doctor gives that all clear, a lot of folks are still suffering emotionally and calling it cancer PTSD. So we're going to talk about all different kinds of ways that you can deal with the emotional after effects of cancer.
Good information. Thank you so much, Lori. I want to remind you folks at home that you can catch Lori on Healthy Living this evening on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8:30, and that is Eastern Standard Time. Still ahead, we're going to take you to the Middle East and look at a strategic area known as the Golan Heights. Israel needs that land for its own safety. Syria ruled it for decades, so how did Israel gain control of it? We're going to have that story for you. It's all coming up next, right here on CBN NewsWatch.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News. Because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
It's a key area in the Middle East known as the Golan Heights, and maintaining control of this strategic land is crucial for the nation of Israel. For decades, Syria ruled the area. So how did Israel obtain it? Through an uphill battle from a rocky slope rising 1,700 feet from the Sea of Galilee. Chris Mitchell has this gripping, detailed report on the crucial conquest.
Sits on the Golan Heights, totally dominates this whole region.
That's in part because of the proximity to the Sea of Galilee. The Golan Heights shares borders with Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, and Damascus is only 40 miles away. For decades, Syria controlled the Golan Heights. Here on the high ground overlooking the Sea of Galilee, Syrian artillery and snipers shot and shelled Israelis below. Children grew up running to bomb shelters, and residents lived under the constant threat of attack.
So all along the line of this cliff were Syrian bunkers and military posts and cannons and artilleries. The communities beneath the Golan Heights were totally at the mercies of the Syrians.
Overlooking the Sea of Galilee, Middle East expert Avi Melamed told me why this ground is so important.
Now, you have to remember, the Sea of Galilee is the biggest fresh water body in Israel, providing something like 25–30% of the water consumption or the fresh water consumption in Israel. In 1948 until 1967, what happened was that the Syrians occupied some strategic areas. The major result of that was an enormously increasing pressure on Israel, mostly in the context of the water and the use of water.
Israel faced a literal uphill battle against the Syrian army, a rocky slope that rose 1,700 feet from the Sea of Galilee. Israel captured the Golan Plateau during the last 2 days of the Six-Day War.
We were afraid that Syria will come back. And again, they will shell the valley and try to take the water, to take the Jordan. We decided to make the first kibbutz in the Golan Heights.
And just a month after the war, Yehuda Harel and his family joined the first Israelis moving here.
We got a permission from the army to get inside the Golan Heights because it was a military area. And we got a job from them to collect cows that were wild in the area.
They first lived in what had been housing for Syrian army officers.
We are very near to Quneitra, about 100 meters from Quneitra. And we are near to the quarter that we used to live here for almost 5 years. This was the house that we, with another 3 families, lived in this house.
Eventually, the community moved across the ridge and still farms near the border. Today, close to 50,000 people, more than 25,000 Israelis, and about 22,000 Druze live on the Golan Heights. It's known for its fresh fruit, like the grapes used in award-winning Israeli wines.
In the last more than 40 years, the Golan Heights is the most quiet area of Israel. Everything happened in the other side of the border.
But that could be changing.
Do you see any similarities between the conditions prior to 1967 and the conditions now?
I would say that the strategic threat, as far as Israel is concerned, is today much more severe in comparison to the pre-1967. The major reason for that is the presence of Iranians and Iranian-backed Shiite militias stone's throw away from the Israeli-Syrian ceasefire line.
Melamed said Iran wants to establish a new front here, similar to those established in South Lebanon and the Gaza Strip.
Trying to launch a military front against Israel in the Golan Heights could result in a massive eruption, because Israel will not stand for that, and rightly so.
On the 49th anniversary of the Six-Day War, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it very clear how Israel views the Golan Heights.
They are for peace. In the stormy region around us, Israel is the stabilizing factor. Israel is the solution, not the problem. The Golan Heights will forever remain in Israel's hands. Israel will never come down from the Golan Heights.
In 2019, Israel made another gain on the Golan Heights when U.S. President Trump recognized Israeli sovereignty over the strategic plateau.
When we were only in the valley and the enemy was up on the hill, it was not peace. To live in peace, you have to be strong and to live in the higher place.
In the meantime, the Golan Heights is quiet, but enemies on the other side of the border continue to plot against the Jewish state. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Golan Heights, Israel.
Coming up, miracle signs and wonders taking place on an app as people talk about faith. We're going to explore the app and tell you who's using it when we come back.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
A new app is exploding in popularity, especially among Christians. It's called Clubhouse. It's an invitation-only audio app launched just a year ago. It had some 600,000 users as of December. That is according to the New York Times. The app allows users to start or listen into conversations on a whole host of topics, ranging from sports and parenting to religion and more. Conversations can be intimate, like a phone call, or they can include thousands of people listening to a talk, like a conference or a stage interview. Christians say miracles, signs, and wonders are taking place as they engage people about their faith. Francina Norman of Francina Norman Ministries told CBN's The Prayer Link how God is moving by way of that app.
We've started having altar calls. And so when we started having altar calls, we had over 600 people to get saved so far. And so we formed a network. So once they get saved, I formed a team that will follow up. And then they will tell us what country they're from or what state they're from. And then we will assign them to a local church. So it's causing churches to grow, ministries to grow.
And you can see that full interview with Francina Norman on the Prayer Link. It begins at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time this evening. Of course, you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Time now for your Wednesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray will bless you, and I encourage you to post tag tweet and share this with others in your circles of influence. Know this, your condition is not your conclusion. If you are breathing, God is not finished with you. So don't lose hope and be sure not to lose heart. God is for you, and he will get you through this, because this is not your conclusion. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there anytime, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today on CBN Newswatch. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. Make this a terrific Tuesday.